Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are going nuts, like literally going nuts, diving deep into the world of nuts and how they can affect our health, especially as we, get a little older.
It is fascinating, isn't it? These tiny little things, just backed with good stuff that can really, really make a difference as we age.
All right, so let's unpack this a bit. We're going to figure out which nuts are the real MVPs and which ones, maybe we should enjoy a little more sparingly.
Exactly. Let's start with the superstars, the ones that should definitely be in your snack rotation.
Sounds good to me. So almonds, I've heard they're good for your heart, but what's the deal with that? What makes them so special?
Well, almonds have this unique combination of monounsaturated fats and magnesium. And those fats, they help improve your cholesterol. They actually lower the bad cholesterol, the LDL, and raise the good cholesterol, the HDL.
So they're not just good for your heart, they're actually protecting it.
Yeah, exactly. And the magnesium, that plays a key role in keeping your blood pressure in check. So together, they're like this dynamic duo against heart disease.
Wow, a powerful combo.
And there's more. They're full of vitamin E, and that's a powerful antioxidant.
Okay, remind me, what do antioxidants do again?
Oh, they're like little bodyguards for your cells, protecting them from damage.
So that's important for us.
Oh, absolutely. Especially as we age,
Hmm.
Helps keep your skin healthy, fight off those signs of aging.
So almonds are like a multivitamin for your heart and skin.
Yeah, you could say that, but remember, everything in moderation. Even though they're great for you, almonds are calorie dense, so stick to about, I'd say 23 a day.
Okay, got it. Almonds, heart healthy, skin friendly, and delicious. What's the next nut on our list?
Okay, let's talk walnuts, a true brain food. Have you ever noticed how a walnut kind of looks like a little brain?
Now that you mention it, yeah, I kind of see it. So are walnuts actually good for your brain?
They're fantastic for your brain. Walnuts are packed with omega-3 fatty acids, specifically ALA, the plant-based kind.
Okay, and omega-3s, those are good for us, right?
Yeah.
But why?
They have these amazing anti-inflammatory properties. And chronic inflammation, well, that's a major culprit behind, age-related cognitive decline and even things like Alzheimer's.
Oh, wow. So walnuts can help prevent that decline.
Exactly. By reducing inflammation, those omega-3s protect your brain cells. There have been studies showing that if you eat walnuts regularly, it can actually improve your memory, how fast you process information, and just your overall brain function.
It's like a workout for your brain.
It really is. And there's one more thing about walnuts that's really important, especially as we get older.
Okay, what's that?
They can actually improve your insulin sensitivity.
Insulin sensitivity. Remind me what that is again.
So that's your body's ability to use insulin effectively to keep your blood sugar in check.
Right. So I'm guessing that means fewer blood sugar spikes after meals, which, let's be honest, a lot of us struggle with as we age.
You got it. Walnuts can really help manage those blood sugar levels, which is super important for our overall health and feeling good.
Okay, walnuts for a sharper brain and balanced blood sugar. They're going on my grocery list right now. What other nuts should we be making sure to eat?
Well, let's talk about pistachios. They're the perfect snack, especially if you're trying to, watch your weight, but still want something that feels satisfying and tastes good.
I love pistachios, but aren't all nuts pretty high in calories?
You're right, they are, but pistachios actually have fewer calories compared to some other nuts. Of course, you still want to be mindful of portion size, but they give you a little more wiggle room.
Okay, that makes sense.
And another great thing about pistachios is they're packed with protein and fiber, which help keep you feeling full and satisfied so you're less likely to, overeat.
So it's like they have built-in portion control.
Exactly. Plus, think about it, you have to shell each one, so that naturally slows you down. You're kind of forced to be more mindful about how much you're eating.
That's actually a really good point. I've also heard pistachios are good for your eyes.
That's right. They've got these things called lutein and zeaxanthin. They're powerful antioxidants, and they protect against age-related macular degeneration.
And that's...
It's one of the leading causes of vision loss. So pistachios can help protect your eyesight.
Pistachios. Delicious. Good for weight management and good for our eyes.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a theme here. Nuts are like multitaskers. So what's the last must-have nut?
Okay, let's talk about a nut that maybe isn't as well known, but it's incredibly powerful. The Brazil nut. This one is a champion when it comes to thyroid health.
Brazil nuts. I've definitely seen them, but I'll admit I don't know a lot about them. What makes them so good for the thyroid?
They're one of the best sources of psyllium. That's a mineral, and it's crucial for your thyroid to produce hormones properly.
Okay, and the thyroid, that's,
Your thyroid controls your metabolism, which affects pretty much everything, your energy levels, your mood, even how your brain functions. And if you're even slightly deficient in selenium, it can really mess with your thyroid.
wow, so those little Brazil nuts are keeping everything running smoothly.
They really are. And here's the amazing thing. You only need 1 or 2 Brazil nuts a day to get enough selenium.
Wow, that's incredible. So we got almonds for the heart, walnuts for the brain, pistachios for weight management and eye health, and Brazil nuts for the thyroid. That's quite a lineup.
It is. Now, these are the nuts you definitely want to be eating, but there are a few others we should talk about. Nuts you might want to be a little more careful with.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. Which nuts are we talking about, and what should we watch out for?
Let's start with a fan favorite that has a bit of a downside, the macadamia nut.
Macadamia nuts. But they're so delicious, so buttery. What could be wrong with them?
Oh, they are delicious. But they're also very, very high in calories and fat.
Oh, okay.
Now, most of the fat is the good kind, the monounsaturated fat, but they're just so calorie dense that it can be a problem, especially if you're trying to manage your weight.
So they're easy to overeat?
Extremely easy. They're so soft and creamy, they practically melt in your mouth. And plus, a lot of the macadamia nuts you find in stores are, honey roasted or covered in chocolate, so that adds even more calories and sugar.
So macadamia nuts in moderation. Got it.
Hmm.
What's next on our list of nuts to be mindful of?
Okay, let's talk about peanuts. Now, they're a popular snack, but there are a few things to keep in mind. First of all, peanuts aren't actually nuts.
They're not.
Nope, they're legumes. They're in the same family as beans and lentils.
Huh. I had no idea. So what does that mean for us snackers?
Well, it kind of explains why some people who are allergic to tree nuts can eat peanuts just fine, while others can't eat either. Peanut allergies are really common, and they can be very serious. So, always be mindful of that, especially if you're sharing snacks.
Absolutely. Peanut allergies, definitely something to take seriously. Are there other reasons we might want to be cautious about peanuts?
Well, there's also the risk of aflatoxins.
Aflatoxins.
Yeah, those are toxins produced by a type of mold that can sometimes contaminate peanuts, especially if they're not stored properly. And aflatoxins have been linked to liver damage. So make sure you're buying peanuts from a reputable source and storing them correctly.
Okay, that's a little scary. So even if you're not allergic, there's still some risk with peanuts. What about peanut butter? Is that a healthier option?
It can be. Peanut butter can be really healthy and tasty, but you have to choose carefully. Look for natural peanut butter, the kind without any added sugar or oils or salt. A lot of the peanut butters out there are loaded with stuff that really negates the benefits.
So peanut butter. Definitely got to read the label carefully. What's the next nut on our be mindful list?
Let's talk about pine nuts. They're often used in, fancy dishes, but there are a few drawbacks when it comes to just snacking on them.
Pine nuts. Really? What can be wrong with them?
Well, they have a very high oil content, which makes them go bad pretty quickly. If you don't store them properly, pine nuts can go rancid.
And rancid nuts. That's
Not good. They taste bad, and they can upset your stomach.
So how do you keep them fresh? What's the best way to store them?
Your best bet is the fridge or the freezer. Oh, and have you ever heard of pine mouth syndrome?
Pine mouth syndrome. That sounds a little ominous.
It's a strange thing that happens to some people after they eat pine nuts. They get this bitter or metallic taste in their mouth, and it can linger for days, even weeks.
Oh, wow.
It's not harmful, but it's definitely not pleasant. And we don't really know what causes it, but it's something to keep in mind.
Pine mouth syndrome. Well, that's definitely a new one for me. So pine nuts, delicious but delicate. Any other nuts we should be careful with?
Yes, the last one is chestnuts. Now, they're a holiday favorite, but they're a little different from most nuts. Instead of being high in protein and healthy fats, chestnuts are mostly carbs.
So they're more like a starchy vegetable than a nut.
Exactly. And because they're so high in carbs, they can cause your blood sugar to spike pretty quickly. So that's something to be mindful of, especially if you have diabetes or you're watching your blood sugar.
So chestnuts are best enjoyed in moderation, especially if you're watching your blood sugar. This is so fascinating. I'm realizing how much I didn't know about nuts. So what are some key takeaways you want listeners to remember from today's deep dive?
Okay, first and foremost, remember those 4 powerhouse nuts. Almonds for the heart, walnuts for the brain, pistachios for weight management and eye health, and Brazil nuts for thyroid support. Those are the ones you really want to make a regular part of your diet.
Great advice. What about the nuts we should be mindful of?
For those, just remember, macadamia nuts are high in calories, peanuts have those allergy and aflatoxin risks, pine nuts can go bad quickly and might cause pine mouth syndrome, and chestnuts are high in carbs, so they can spike your blood sugar. Enjoy them in moderation and just, be aware of those little quirks.
It's like each nut has its own personality, its own story to tell. I'm feeling so much more informed about making healthy choices now.
That's great to hear. But remember, we've really only scratched the surface here. There's so much more to explore in the world of nuts, and I think our next stop on this journey is going to really surprise you.
Oh, now I'm really curious. What's next on this nutty adventure? You've definitely got me hooked.
Well, we've talked about different types of nuts, their benefits, and how processing affects them. Now let's talk about how to actually incorporate nuts into your diet strategically to get the most out of them.
Okay, I'm all ears. I'm ready to put all this knowledge into practice.
Okay, so let's dive into this whole processing thing, because it's actually really interesting.
I'm all ears. I did it. I never really thought about how my nuts are processed. I just kind of grab whatever looks good at the store.
Yeah, it's something most people don't even consider, but it can really make a big difference in terms of how nutritious those nuts actually are. So you've got your raw nuts, right? Straight out the shell, all natural, nothing added.
So raw nuts are always the healthiest option.
Well, not necessarily. They do have that full nutrient profile, but they can be a little tougher on some people's digestion. Then you've got roasted nuts, where heat brings out the flavor and gives them that nice crunch.
I definitely prefer the taste and texture of roasted nuts.
And here's the thing. Roasting can actually make certain nutrients more bioavailable, like those antioxidants we were talking about. Basically, it means your body can absorb them better.
So roasting can actually boost the nutritional value.
Exactly. But here's the catch. If you roast them at too high a temperature, it can destroy some of those healthy fats and even create harmful compounds like acrylamide.
Acrylamide, what's that?
It's a substance that forms in starchy foods when they're cooked at high heat. And there's been some research linking it to some health concerns. So roasting can be good, but it's all about finding that balance. Low and slow roasting is the key. That way you get the flavor and nutrients without the risks.
Okay, so if I'm roasting nuts at home, lower temperatures are better. What about store-bought roasted nuts? Anything I should look out for on the label?
Absolutely. Check the ingredients list and make sure they're not roasted in unhealthy oils, adding extra calories and fat. Look for dry roasted or nuts roasted in a healthy oil, like olive oil.
Dry roasted or healthy oil roasted.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, what about salted nuts? I do love that salty crunch, but is all that sodium a problem?
Well, most of us get way more sodium than we need, which can contribute to high blood pressure. So if you're watching your sodium intake, definitely go for unsalted or lightly salted nuts.
Good point. Unsalted it is. Are there any other processing methods we should be aware of?
Yeah, sometimes you'll see blanched nuts, which means they've had their skins removed. And while it might make them look prettier, that skin actually contains a lot of nutrients like fiber and antioxidants.
So keeping the skin on is probably a better choice.
You got it. And then there's flavored nuts, coated in sugar, honey, chocolate, all that good stuff. And while they're delicious, those extra ingredients can definitely add a lot of extra calories and sugar, so enjoy those in moderation.
So to recap, raw nuts are full of nutrients, but roasting can make them tastier and easier for our bodies to absorb those nutrients as long as it's done right. We should be mindful of added salt, oils, and flavorings, and opt for nuts with their skin on whenever possible. Anything I missed?
I think you covered it all. It really all comes down to making informed choices and just remembering that not all nuts are created equal.
This is so helpful. I feel like I'm actually becoming a nut expert. Any other tips before we move on?
One more thing. When you're buying nuts, try to get the unsalted varieties whenever possible. Choose dry roasted or healthy oil roasted options and store your nuts properly to keep them from going bad.
Speaking of, what is the best way to store nuts?
An airtight container in a cool, dark, dry place is perfect. You can even store them in the fridge or freezer to make them last even longer. It's all about preserving those awesome nutrients.
Great tips. I feel so much more confident about adding nuts to my diet in a healthy way now. What's next on our nut journey?
Well, we've talked about the different types of nuts, their benefits, and how processing affects them. Now let's talk about how to actually use nuts strategically in your diet to get the most out of those benefits.
I'm ready. Let's put all this knowledge to work. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground, right? We talked about all the different kinds of nuts, what makes each one special, and even how they're processed, which I never really thought about before. But now, let's get strategic. How do we actually make sure we're getting the most out of all these amazing benefits nuts have to offer? How do we work them into our diet in a smart way?
That is the key question, isn't it? It's not just about eating any nuts. It's about choosing the right ones for you and then, yeah, being strategic about how you incorporate them.
So it's like creating a personalized nut plan.
Exactly. Think about your health goals. What are you trying to achieve? If you're really focused on heart health, you might prioritize almonds and walnuts.
If you're worried about, keeping your brain sharp as you age, then walnuts would be at the top of the list, right?
Exactly. Or if you're looking for a satisfying snack to help you manage your weight, maybe pistachios are your way too. It's all about making those choices based on what you need.
That makes a lot of sense. So instead of just grabbing whatever's in the pantry, we should be thinking about what those nuts can actually do for us.
Right. And it's not just about choosing the right types of nuts, it's about finding ways to include them that work for your lifestyle. Some people love to snack on nuts throughout the day, others like to incorporate them into meals.
So there's no right or wrong way to do it.
Not at all. It's about experimenting and finding what works best for you. You can add slivered almonds to your yogurt in the morning or your oatmeal. Sprinkle some walnuts on your salad at lunch. Throw some pistachios in a stir fry.
Oh, or even make your own trail mix, right? With different nuts and seeds and dried fruit.
Exactly. That's a great way to get a mix of nutrients and customize it to your taste.
I love that idea. What other creative ways can we use nuts?
Well, think outside the box a little. Nut butters are amazing. You can add them to smoothies, use them in sauces to make them creamy. Ground nuts can give your baked goods a nutritional boost. You can even make your own nut milk.
Wow, I never realized how versatile nuts are. We're getting all sorts of ideas now.
That's great. And remember, nuts are packed with healthy fats, protein, fiber, vitamins, minerals, all that good stuff. But they're calorie dense, so even though they're good for you, you still want to enjoy them in moderation.
Right. Everything in balance. So we've learned so much today about the benefits of different nuts, how they're processed, and even how to use them creatively. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners before we wrap things up?
I would just say, enjoy the variety. There are so many different kinds of nuts out there. Experiment, find what you like, how you like to eat them, and most importantly, listen to your body. Nuts can be a delicious and nutritious part of a healthy life, so have fun with it.
I love that. Embrace the nutty goodness. Well, everyone, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the wonderful world of nuts.
It's been a pleasure cracking this nut with you.
It really has. We hope you learned a lot today, and maybe even feel inspired to add some more nuts to your life. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends and family. And let us know in the comments, what are your favorite nuts and how do you like to eat them? We always love hearing from you.
And if you want more deep dives like this, all about senior health and well-being, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We've got so much more to share with you.
Until next time, stay healthy, happy, and keep on snacking smartly.